Hello, guys. So, very good to see you guys after the lunch. Usually, if you start with a technical panel right after the lunch, it's quite difficult to get people, right? And okay, so I think I'm just going to move here since I think we're missing a panelist to get a bit closer to you guys. So, I think we'll start the panel by actually introducing the panelists. Maybe we can start from you. And
chấn động luôn.
So my name is Ryan. I'm the BD head for Biosin. So essentially, I'm the mouthpiece of the company.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm the founder of a company called Menlo One. We make novel and privacy-focused DeFi solutions.
Hi, I'm Troy. I'm actually filling in for our founder, Tan, today, so apologies in advance if it's not as technical as you hope it to be. Again, I'm the head of business for VeriChains. So sort of like Ryan, I am the mouthpiece for the company. Yeah.
So, hello everybody. My name is Harpreet Maan. I'm the CEO of Blockline Technologies in Berhad. It's a Malaysian-based web3 development company. We do development, consultancy, trainings. We actually did one training a few months here, just in the hall, the room next door, actually. And I also lead the association in Malaysia. So I'm the president of Access Blockchain Association Malaysia. Been in the space for actively about 8 years, in crypto for 10 years, and also run the largest communities in Southeast Asia, Bitcoin Malaysia, and a few of the other ones. And we also host conference. So literally, you can see me everywhere, right? So to put it simply, yeah. But we have a very interesting topic today, which is Dapp and web3 security. Of course, if you've been keeping up with the recent trends and the recent outcomes, everybody is having a bit of faith shaken in the crypto space, right? Some of it is due to all those fraudulent cases. We can talk about all those dramas and stories, and also security, right? Suddenly, everybody sees security as a big matter, and now people are having hard time finding out who to trust. And when you talk about trust, everybody need to lean on blockchain. They need to lean on cybersecurity. They need to lean on Web3 security, and that's where we're heading towards our panel today. So I think maybe we'll just start with my question will be that what is like some of these technologies, right, that we see in Web3 security that might be maybe some underestimated or not really been utilized, maybe something that you feel that is important to highlight. We will start from you and we go around.
Yeah, sure. There is one aspect of Web3 security that I think has basically been totally underrepresented and looked over by the community, and that is middleware. So basically, you have a blockchain, and then you have a wallet, everything that's in between. So for instance, on a popular NFT, OpenSea, for instance, there's quite a bit of middleware happening. They're caching blockchains in databases. None of this is censorship resistant. Most of it is hosted on AWS. They're problems that we've been looking at Menlo One for a couple of years, and I think that's actually it could quite possibly be the next big wave of application type in the next bull run. So middleware, a big thing that I want to put on everybody's radar.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you run any sort of applications, right? So, people usually talk about saving your keys, private keys in your wallets. But there's actually a lot of things that happen in between, right? So whenever you want to communicate, let's say you open up your MetaMask, you're signing a transaction, there has to be a node hosted at the back. When you're buying an NFT, somebody's storing the images, your data, your pictures, right? So in this case, there's many points of vulnerabilities that might expose your savings or your keys or your signatures or any of those, right? So a lot of those hacks and especially phishings happen on those layers, right? Phishing scams mainly. But yeah,
that's right.
So I do agree with that. So maybe we'll move on. What is the next opinion? Yeah.
So I think us being techies, we essentially good at what we do, the coding and stuff. But at this juncture, what I think is lacking undermine is the financial audit. So as an add-on from what we're doing right now, which is really good work, I think we are lacking in terms of the financials of the company, checking the company as itself, so that we can prevent situation like FTX, stuff like that, which could essentially rock the foundations of what crypto is all about, so that we can focus on what is important.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about that, you're more talking about the crypto aspect, right? So how can we audit that they actually hold those reserves or they hold those money, right? So, okay, got it.
So from Very Chains, I guess this is not so much like a new technology, but if we look at what we offer to our clients in terms of services and products, we look at broad categories like audit, penetration testing, application-specific protections. But I think if we've seen, some of the largest hacks, we've seen the vulnerability there really at a transaction level, right? As you mentioned before, there's so many steps in between. So one of the things that, from our sort of audit and security team's perspective is, with decentralization of assets, there's also decentralization of risk and that management of that risk. And so much of that has now been placed on the end user to get it right. And it's also a very difficult thing for organizations to, let's say, have the strategic foresight to wanting to incorporate that security measurement during their development. So I think it's one of those things where it's not a new technology, right? We've got great risk management best practices from traditional TradFi. But yeah, I think that's definitely a key where I'm seeing a lot of vulnerabilities happen.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I'll just chime in one of my opinions as well. I've been, working closely in terms of, we've been building stuff. So we always make sure that it gets audited even before somebody actually even touch it, right? So in this case, before the actually product is rolled out, we work with our audit partners to make sure that it's audited. Or, usually we get the flexibility to our customers, like choose whichever auditing partner you want, but get it audited, right? Although I would like to believe that my developers do a good job, but in this case, I would want to make sure that I can sleep well at night knowing that people's monies are safe, right? So it just, in a way, to give a peace of mind. But when it comes to the technologies, I notice something like maybe what Bioshin is doing. Actually, was just on your website and checking out Eagle Eye. Is that the product? Yeah, I mean, something. I was actually looking at your website just to understand your product. I was like, that's cool, right? If there's a way to identify potential hacks happening or vulnerabilities before they happen, right? Or maybe just keeping a live tracker of where might be a hack happening right now. Because often we are not thinking proactively, but reactively, right? Maybe this is where I'm going to be ending to my next question is like, how can we actually manage or, kind of build a proactive security measures or policies development in startups? Because every time I meet a new startup or a startup founder, he's like, I want to go to market, right? I want to build something. Sometimes they don't even understand what they're building, but they just want to build it fast and get to market. And security is least of their concern because they're like, blockchain will save it, right? So how do we build this proactive mindset of keeping security in mind when building tech? Anybody want to take it?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is having proper tooling to begin with. A founder with an idea who maybe doesn't have funding yet, is following the doctrine of minimal viable product. Okay, so cutting every corner, just in an attempt to validate just the idea. And the brilliant thing about like the Ethereum network is that they created this very easy way because before Ethereum, you had to launch your own blockchain, right? So now you have this kind of digital city state where you can plug into this sort of Lego-like infrastructure of financial primitives and stuff. But unfortunately, there are large chunks of the stack that sits between a user and the blockchain, which are not secure. And fortunately, sometimes we are moving forward. We're getting better applications and better. Every other part of that layer is getting decentralized and secure. But then in some cases, like an over-reliance on centralized exchanges or bridges, there's some creeping vulnerabilities, and of course, some of the wallets are moving backwards in terms of their openness and in terms of their security. So I think Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's a matter of vigilance, of making sure the vigilance the onus falls on the founder to make sure that every aspect of their stack is secure along the way when building a decentralized and hopefully secure application.
I mean, do you have like any policies in place or something when you're investing into a company, right? When you're looking into some ventures, do you like look for something in the Web3 security space? You're like, okay, maybe you should be doing this for me to invest in you, or like maybe you consider back of your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, the first question that we asked is what aspect of your tech is not open source? And there's always a reply. There's always some answer like, oh well, we're caching. There are chunks of this on AWS, and that's not open source. But the rest is open source, and that's fine. It's like, well, what what about the disaster scenario where AWS is censoring you? Do you have a plan B? Do you have a contingency plan in action? And so there's a kind of a thought tree taking place as to have they thought through a potential worst case scenario. And we live in an age where open source software engineers are getting arrested, and three-letter government agencies are calling on AMMs to ban certain types of tokens. So some of these issues are actually not as far-fetched as they were a few years ago. But what we like to see at Menlo One is just that the founder is thinking these things through and has some kind of contingency plan in place.
Definitely love to hear the opinions from the others as well. But before that, actually, I do agree with the idea of the open source. If you really look into the DEX versus centralized exchanges, the CEX, right? Among the reason a lot of the DEX kind of became stable over time is because they got hacked when they were still shitcoins and they were still shit DEXs, right? So because a lot of the code being open source, they just copied each other, and whichever codes were shit, they all got hacked together, right? And basically just put out from the market. And those who were stable, kind of the survival, like survival of the fittest, they kind of survived and they got matured and they got bigger. But when it comes to CEX, because of the closed nature, we don't have the same tests, right? A lot of teams have bad practices. I've met a lot of CEX with really bad practices, bad CUI. Some of the guys don't even understand crypto that well, but they're running a centralized exchange and they have a license for it, right? So that's the most interesting thing that I've seen in the space for the past few years. But overall, I think some transparency, more technology adoption, a bit more understanding decentralized fundamentals into CEX might actually do us some good. Yeah, but I would love to hear your opinions as well.
Yeah, I'll take the next. I guess, as a juxtaposition to Matt's position, from a more, let's say, a macro community incentive, like how do we get the industry to want to invest more into security during their development? And I think we can already sort of see this as a trend on one side. So if you want to split it to, let's say, a project and a retail level versus, let's say, a platform organizational level, you can see that a lot of the trends now, the exchange require projects to be audited first as a way to earn that retail investor trust. So that's one force that is already affecting the market in terms of, affecting the investment into security. On the other side, I think, everyone probably heard this to death. We're still very early. The regulators are not there yet. But certainly what we'll see from this aftermath of the contagion would be more regulatory pressure from top down, which I think would, again, I think that would also continue that trend of more security investment. I mean, the issue with cybersecurity has always been, whether you're Web 2 or Web 3, is most organizations simply don't see it as a direct return on investment. It's generally looked at as a sunk cost. And you can't really actually blame the founders that much. They get put into accelerators and there's milestones to hit and there's growth at all costs, build fast, break fast. So I think that's probably a reflection of the previous bull market. But as we move into, I guess, a new environment, I think that's probably going to change in some way as well.
Do you have any opinions here?
I mean, I think both of you bring up a good point. But for me, I think essentially what I would like to see this industry, or for the securities portion to hit towards, is to be able to bring in our collective capabilities and essentially build an alliance together where we can essentially set off a path in terms of security. what defines what is a hack, or being proactive in terms of pulling our knowledge together. Individually, all of us we are good at what we do, but together, I think we should be able to bring forth a new age when it comes to security, bring essentially trying to keep the entire Web3 space safe. And at least when Web2 industry looks into the Web3, and then they think that we have a good structure going. Not only we are here to make money, but we are here to ensure that the funds are stayed safe.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with it. I mean, like most of the industry, when they start to mature, it's actually better to band together and build standards and build some ways to, like where you actually can have some sense of security, some sense of understanding, some sense of, like a collaborativeness in the industry, right? I think we are hitting towards that area already. We need some sort of a Web3 security alliance, right? Where we form a form of like all those security companies and people who have vested interests get together, one, work out on standards, work on trainings, work on getting more, like some sort of policies out there. So in this case, for example, right now, we are seeing brands being put up onto people's sites, right? And in this case, people are not behind audits; they're behind the biggest brands, like that is able to give them the audit. What if we remove that and say that, hey, the biggest brand is the standard brand, right? You have to comply to the standard, and we all agree that you're doing a good job, right? So that's how it has been done, like in the traditional IT industry and all the other industries, where all they band together and they form those standards. It's a painstaking process, I'll be honest. I mean, few standards committees, right? But I think it's much easier if the industry come together on their own, on their own willingness term, being like inclusive, and basically find a way to actually work that out. And coming to your point earlier, regulators will never be there. You're right. So there's always going to be a catch-up game, because the last 4 years I spent sitting down and talking with them, they still don't understand Bitcoin. So to bring them there to speed is going to be a challenge. It's best to kind of mature the industry on our own, work out on the things that we are lacking, think more collaboratively in terms of being more competitive, solve our problems, and then give them a solution that this is how we're going to solve. This is what you want from us? Yeah, we have a solution. Okay, you agree to it? Okay, just go with it. You have a point to say? Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so what you're suggesting is, so Web 2 has a W3C. What you're talking about is a W3 W3C,
Yeah,
which I support.
Yeah, definitely, right? So I think this has to be lead from the security companies, right? So in this case, you guys are the guys who are auditing, you guys have the most vested interest. We'll be able to come in and support, right? So in this case, there'll be something that maybe you can even talk to EF or somebody who actually might be able to lead something like this, or the discussion for it. They might be interested. But it'll be nice if it's agnostic. Doesn't matter which chain, whatever, security fundamentals has to be there, right? So moving to the next question, right? So when we talk about security, everybody today, right after the FTX debacle, everybody suddenly were like, oh, we want to be secure. What is the best way to be secure? Move out the money from CEX and put it into a hardware wallet, right? And suddenly the sales of hardware wallets have just gone crazy. My friends are like ringing me up like, hey man, I can't find hardware wallets. Where can I buy them? I'm like, I don't sell hardware wallets, mate, right? You got to go online, get it on AliExpress, and you can buy one. And they're like, there's no supply, right? And literally there's craziness going on. If you Google hardware wallets, they're trending. And all the hardware wallets actually making good money as well. But is that the best way to do it? Is there a better way for us to have consumer key management system solutions? Like something that's more user-friendly out there, according to your experience, if you want to share something? Yeah, it's a bit more technical one. Yeah.
So you're right in terms of, like let's say, for example, the current adoption on the wallet is very much a reaction to, like, for example, the FTX fallout, right? But the experience of the user is still very limited, or it's not the best. And as a reflection of this, like for example, without sort of sharing too much within Very Chains here, we are looking, deeply into our research and development team, a way to build a much better UX wallet that has a lot of the best risk management systems, like multi-layered key signatures, delay in transactions, So we are sort of exploring that and trying to develop better solution in-house, but we're still, far from having complete products. But again, that's sort of what's currently lacking quite a fair bit in the market. And again, it's compared to, let's say, the risk management of a traditional user, with a bank, there is no risk. But however, right now, even if you want to explore, not only do you have the uptake of the user experience, but you're still vulnerable because you are still having to decentralize and take that risk management on for yourself. So I think there's still a lot of room to develop for a consumer-ready solution that will give the, let's say, a retail user a very seamless experience. They wouldn't even know that it's Web3.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to chime on that actually. I noticed that since HSMs and hardware secure modules came in, everybody started to talk about hardware wallets. Everybody just went up and started to splurge all money over that. All the research went there as well. But nobody talk about secure software solutions anymore, right? How can we actually improve? Because when you talk about scale, it is going to take a lot of investment, money, and convincing to get HSM in everybody's hand, right? I don't think so. Like, if you just talk about this room, how many of you actually owns a HSM or like a hardware wallet? Let's say this is a crypto conference. Let's see how many of you have it, right? Maybe what, 4, 5 people, 6, 7? 7 people has a hardware wallet in this room right now. This is like the guys who are most vested in crypto, and they might have the most money sitting in crypto as well. What about the people outside? What about the billions of people outside who actually needs a security system, but doesn't see the need or doesn't know how to get a HSM or how to buy a hardware wallet? So in this case, I think we have, strayed from the focus that I think we forgot that to scale, we need to think scalability solutions. We need software to also do a good job, right? So in this case, if it's not as good as HSM, at least somewhere close to it, right? Somewhere good enough that we can feel that this is something that can secure some of the funds, right? So that's why I will be interested to see what do you guys come out with, and where does this lead with?
Yeah, we've got no solution for it right now. I mean, HSM is like your safety deposit box, right? You're not going to be doing high volume transaction through that.
I'm excited to see. Somebody has to figure it out. Hopefully it's you, right?
I mean, hardware wallets, they cost money, and it's an extra thing to lose. Okay. I mean, it's my personal opinion or my personal workflow, but I find them to be cumbersome. I think there is an untapped market of software-based financial management solutions which have not really been fully explored. Hardware wallets don't take insurance into consideration. It would be nice to have a solution with a dead man switch. If anybody, what if somebody dies? So a dead man switch is, if you die, which eventually, what happens to your money? Does it sit in the hardware wallet? What happens? It would be nice for somebody to come up with a trustless, decentralized software solution for this. There are some hacky solutions out there, but none of them are really for mainstream consumption yet.
I mean, even the mainstream exchanges doesn't have the features. Like, even talk about Binance, you talked about getting transfer on debt feature on those for years, because everybody here, especially in crypto, right? We're always traveling, right? We're always some corner of the world right now. What happens if the plane didn't land? Or you didn't, something happens on the way. So you always have the fear, what will happen to this investment? Could anybody, even let's say it goes to charity. Will it go to charity or will it go to FTX fund, right? So we do not know. So in this case, yes, of course, there will be a bit more peace of mind if we can use that. But again, when we use offline keys or keys that are not there, you always have to keep it in some sort of a custodian. But then, is there any secure enough software where you can keep it as in the custodians and it can act upon whenever if you're no longer there, or the check marks are there, or some claimants are there to actually get those funds, right? So I do agree with you. I feel that this is a problem that has not been solved. This is a really good opportunity. There's few projects that are coming out building bill systems, with custodian solutions. There are a few in Southeast Asia, a few guys in Malaysia are trying it. Hopefully it works out, but it's a really good feature. But coming back, how about you? Do you have any inputs on the KMS?
For the KMS, I think essentially I think the most important thing for consumers will be education. That
Đúng không? Chọn
is,
xuống dưới cái bàn dưới rồi.
I believe in this room, everybody has been through a situation where you got your funds scammed, you sent to wrong address, you did something foolish enough that you lose your money or you lose your hardware wallet or code, everything that could have happened. So me going through all of these things, when I teach my friends, letting them know that these are the pitfalls that you should be aware of, all of this experience has been transferred immediately to them so that they can avoid by themselves. So when it comes to an more immediate win, it's really all about educating people, letting them know what are pitfalls, what are things to look out for, and even up to this day, my grandfather, he still keeps money in his tin can. So these are things that we can't educate no matter, even though it is in the Web2 world. It's up to this stage, more so Web3. So we're stacking on more technology, more knowledge, and people need to know. This sort of insanity cannot go on. You see.
Yeah, I mean, like, I differ a bit on the viewpoint over here. Like, if, let's say, we come to, for example, right, I've been in space for some time. We're trying to educate the same people again and again and again and again. They keep doing the same mistake. I think crypto has to be stupid friendly. It has to be simple enough that people just pick it and they have like the solutions and technologies and everything behind. You don't have to know how cloud works to use it. You don't have to know how Instagram works at the back to upload your pictures up on it, right? You just use it and it's secure, right? That's what people wanna know and people wanna use it. Although yes, I believe that the principles, the fundamentals, the ideas, the concepts, the vision is important, right? But if you want to scale, you want to get people to on board and be on your vision, you also have to sacrifice certain things. You also have to maybe make it in a way where you can be inclusive, right? So if I was in that scene, I would not be thinking how to educate my grandfather to put out the money into a bank or a crypto. I'll be trying to think, how can I be that tin can, right? Where he's actually putting that money into, right? Where he's already comfortable in. How can I be that thing, right? So I think that's a mindset shift that is kind of required. Maybe think out of the box and how can we actually approach things differently? Not just saying that if this is how Ethereum did it, if this is how we're going to do it, we're going to do 20 different forks and try to figure out the same thing again and again and make it faster, right? Maybe try something different, try a different approach. Try what the customer wants. How can we get the next 1 billion people believing in the technology that we are trying to sell out here?
I think that's what three of us are trying to do to get to that stage. But before that, we're trying to teach people like these are things to do, be aware of it. Meanwhile, give us some time so that we can get there, make it idiot friendly.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, I do agree with that point. That today we are not there yet. Today we are in trust building process. Today we are trying to figure out the securities. But we have to eventually get there where we actually don't have to talk about it anymore, right? It is secure enough, it's trustable enough, and we are basically able to just use it. And in this case, we do the hard work of making sure it's secure. We use the technologies, we build the use cases, but people out there, they're secure and they don't have to think about it. That's where I have the feeling that we're going to scale. And I think that will be my closing points for this panel as well. Anybody else have any points to share before I end it?
So for all the developers and founders out there, key management solutions, big need.
Yes, exactly. Right? Key management solutions, middleware, whatever we shared about today.
Risk management along
Risk
with key
management.
management. You need a consultant for that. Yeah.
Make sure your exchange have your money. That's also an important one these days. So with that, I think thank you everybody for actually, and also thank you a lot to Quinn for actually hosting this, right? And I really see her worked really hard to put all of this together. Kudos to her, kudos to her team, and also thank you for having us here on the panel. Thank you very much. Back to the MC.